Hey everyone, in this video I wanted to do a review of my recent experience with the Georgia Tech Coding Bootcamp. I started the program in December and I finished in March, then 2 months later I started my job as a software engineer. If you're interested in learning more about the program, my thoughts on it, and maybe you're thinking about doing it yourself, then keep on watching. So before I get into my opinions on it and my experience, I wanted to just go over information about what the program is and what it's all about. They have, through Georgia Tech, a 3-month program and they also have a 6-month program. I chose to do the 3-month one, so that's 12 weeks. We had 1 week of break because of Christmas, so I think it was actually maybe a total of 13 weeks total, but 12 weeks of classes and studying and homework and all of that. So the cost of the program is $10,000. You have the option to pay all of that up front, or you could do what I did, which is paying it in installments. So I believe I paid an initial $1,000 as a deposit, and then at the start of the program I paid $3,000, and then pretty much every month I owed another $3,000 until I paid it off. So this program is kind of different from others where they have a job guarantee. There's a lot of other certificate coding bootcamp programs where if you don't get a job, you get your money back. This program does not make that kind of promise. So you're making the investment, you're learning all the material, and getting a job is up to you, but they also do provide career services, so you get assigned to a mentor who looks over your resume, your GitHub, all of your materials. You also have a career coach, and you have a mentor that you meet with twice a week. So there are a lot of resources that can help you get a job, but there's no job guarantee with this program. So I thought I'd also say a little bit about the structure of it. Like I said, you're in classes for 4 hours a day. Classes start at 10 a.m. You take a break at noon for lunch, and then you come back after like 30-40 minutes, and then you go until like, I think we ended at 3 p.m. Or 2:30, I believe. And after the classes, you have homework, basically, and studying, because usually you have 2 homework assignments you have to complete per week. It varies per week. Some weeks I think we had 1, but usually it was 2 homework assignments. So it's very intense. And a little bit more about the structure of it is the instructor usually has like a PowerPoint that they go through at the beginning of each unit. They will, every day will have like a instructional component where they're teaching you like a new concept. The instructor spends like 10 minutes explaining to you a concept, then you go do the problem. And then you come back and he'll answer questions. And then the instructor will go over another thing. You'd work on a I can't talk. Then you work on a problem in groups, and then you come back together, and it kind of just like repeats over and over, that same structure. So what do you learn in the program? This particular program teaches you how to be a MERN stack developer, which stands for MongoDB, Express, React, and Node.js. And so that's like a particular tech stack that you learn, but basically you learn the essentials of web development. We start off with HTML in the beginning, we move to CSS, then you learn JavaScript, which is the main programming language that you're going to learn throughout the course of the program. You also learn basic computer science concepts, which can be useful when you get to the interview process, and just like concepts that are oops, sorry about that. And you also learn a lot of skills that are really useful for your actual job. If you get a job as a web developer, software engineer, programmer, whatever you want to call it, when you're working for a company, you have to work in teams. So you get to learn how to use GitHub while working with other people, how to like make branches, how to push those into like remote repositories, and like managing merge conflicts, and then also just working as a team with other people. Those are really important skills that you develop throughout the program. So I think that just about covers it for what you learn in the bootcamp and the basic structure of it. Now I'll get into my opinions on it, which are generally positive. I had a really great experience. You know, if there's nothing else you take away from this, I think that if you're on the fence, you should absolutely go for it. I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about some things that some advice I have and things I think you should think about if you're seriously considering this. But overall, it's an excellent program. So I just jotted down some questions that I thought I would answer. Questions that I think I had when I was beginning, and I think questions that I think I should have been thinking about before starting the program. And I'll just go through them to give you a sense more about my experience and my thoughts on it. So the first question is, what's the workload like? You know, I had no idea what the workload was like. You know, they call it a boot camp, so I knew like, okay, this is gonna be a lot of work. That's what a boot camp is. It really pushes you to your limits, and that's absolutely true. And honestly, I was kind of surprised at how intense it actually was. I did a PhD, so I'm used to the grind. I'm used to like studying all the time and being really intense about work, but this boot camp is on a whole nother level. Like, I was working 12 hours a day pretty much the whole time, except for the 1 week break for Christmas where we had the whole week off. But aside from that, I just went all in. And a lot of it was because I wanted to stay on track and I wanted to really learn the material. And if you want that, you're going to have to put in a lot of work. And I mean, a lot of this also depends on where you're at. For me, I came in with zero knowledge and zero experience with coding. So I had to work so hard, and I think it paid off. Like, I learned the concepts and eventually got a job. So I feel like it was successful, but it was very, very intense. The workload is crazy. Like, the homework assignments are so hard. You have 2 of them a week. I was staying up until like 2 a.m. for most of them, just trying to get like the basic requirements done for these homeworks, and having to like revise them later. The good thing about it though is that you have a chance to revise homework assignments that you don't do well on. You also do not need to pass. You don't have to pass any of them, actually. So you can get your certificate having failed all of the homework assignments. The main point of the homework assignments is for you to try your best and for you to learn something from them. They don't really care about you like getting it perfect or even like having something functioning, really, because basically the only rule is that you cannot miss 2 homework assignments. Miss means you either did not complete all of the minimum requirements needed, or you just did not submit it. If you complete all the minimum requirements and still get an F because your thing doesn't function, you'll still pass and get your certificate. So there really is no pressure to like get an A on all these homework assignments in terms of getting the certificate. But I think the pressure for me was more like, I know that I can get their certificate, but it's more like I want to learn this concept and I want to put something on my GitHub that actually like not stands out, but like that is decent. I didn't want to put code up there that like was broken or didn't look good, because I was concerned about like people do look at your GitHub when you're applying for jobs. So it was kind of like more that pressure. But in terms of getting the certificate, it's pretty easy. Yet, I think a lot of people still feel pressured because in my cohort, there were several people apparently who cheated, like they copy and pasted other people's code from the internet and got caught. So I don't recommend that. I think that's dumb because you could just turn in whatever you have and fail and still pass. So yeah, that's my opinion about homework assignments. The next question I have is, what is the instruction like? The instruction, I think, really depends on who your instructor is, because there are different cohorts. The part-time instructor is different from the full-time instructor. I'm not sure, but probably there are different classes, so there's more than one class going on. And of course, the instructors may not stay with the boot camp forever, so they might change at different points, but my instructor was excellent. And Jung, if you're watching, you were amazing. He was just a really good instructor in terms of being very patient, had really clear explanations. Like if you had a question, he would explain it really well. And I remember there were times where like I didn't understand things and had to ask several times, and he tries to explain it until you understand it. So his instruction was really good. They also put in an effort to be engaging, which I really appreciated. Jung is like you know, really weird person. I mean that in like a good way, like, because he's like kind of nerdy and into like Pokemon and like Harry Potter and stuff, so he'll always like use variables with Pikachu, and I felt like that kind of like weird energy was helpful because it helped me to stay engaged, because, you know, day after day, the format of instruction, which is kind of like planned out for the instructors, like I don't think they like really veer away from the structure that's given to them by Trilogy or whoever plans it, you know, where they have like the 10-15 minutes of instruction, then you go into breakout rooms, and then they just repeat that over and over. Like that can get really boring. So you need somebody who's engaging, who can kind of like bring you in and, you know, keep you engaged through like weird dad jokes and stuff like that. So I felt like the instruction was very, very high quality. It was better than most like undergraduate classes that I've been in. So yeah, good job to the instructors. I thought we also had a really great TA. He just had really chill vibes. He was like, you know, similarly very patient. You know, we would ask these basic questions over and over, and he wouldn't just be like, ugh, you're so dumb, how come you don't understand that? He'd just like help you and was really nice. And so they did a good job with the instruction. I hope that in the future they also hire great instructors as well. Aside from the instructors, you also have a mentor that you get assigned to, that if you do the full-time, you can meet with them up to 2 times a week. If you do the part-time, you can meet with them up to 1 time a week for 1 hour for each session. That is really amazing because the homework is so hard. The projects are hard too. Like everything is really hard, and you have questions and you don't understand stuff. When you get stuck and you don't know why your code is broken, you can ask your mentor and they can walk you through and help you understand what happened. So I've found that to be extremely useful, especially because though the instructors have office hours, you can meet with them 30 minutes before class or 30 minutes after class. They're busy helping other people a lot of the times. I mean, sometimes if you get there early, you can ask questions, but you can't always guarantee to have time to address your particular issue, especially if it's like something really, you know, deep or difficult to answer in like, you know, a few minutes. But spending that time with the tutors, sorry, I was calling them mentors. I think they call them tutors. The tutors is really, really useful. However, I think like the quality of tutors is not always the same. Like some people definitely had better tutors than others. But one thing that I think they have going for them is that if you don't like vibe well with your tutor, you don't feel like you're learning from them, or for whatever reason, you can change tutors. You can just make a request. You go into the system and you're like, I'd like a new tutor, like submit, and then like 2 days later they'll be like, you have a new tutor now. And so it's very easy to change tutors if you want to. I changed tutors like 3 times. But not because like necessarily things were not going well, but my first tutor, he was amazing. The only reason I changed was because he was only available like 5 p.m. like 1 or 2 days a week, so his availability was not so great. So I had to get a new tutor because of that. My second tutor, I really didn't like that she would take over my screen and just like solve the problems for me. I felt like I wasn't learning. Like in the beginning, I was like, this is awesome. Like, she just gave me the answers to the homework. Cool. But then I was like, I'm not learning that much from this. I don't think I like this at all. So I got a new tutor, and then the next tutor I had, she like was yelling at me. She was just like yelling the whole time, and it made me really uncomfortable. I told her, I was like, I'm sorry, but I feel like you're yelling at me. And she was like, oh yeah, that's just how my voice is. And I was like, I don't like this. I don't want to have like a drill instructor at boot camp. So I got a new tutor, and then my last tutor he was great. Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of support in the program. If you get stuck, there's a lot of people to turn to get you unstuck, which is great. When you are near the end of the program, or actually I don't think you need to be near the end, but as long as you submit a resume through the career services system, you'll get assigned to a career materials advisor or career materials mentor who will look through your resume, your GitHub, and your portfolio, which is where you will showcase all of the projects you've worked on. They will make sure that everything looks really good and is, how do they call it? Job market ready, something like that, or job market competitive. They use these words to refer to the fact that you're ready to go on the job market and apply for jobs. That was really helpful. I learned a lot about like what resumes are supposed to look like in this field. My previous resume that I had, and I was like testing out sending to different jobs, I put like tables on there. I had like really cute font and colors, and you know, I had done a lot of things that you're not supposed to do because of ATS readers, which is this electronic system that like scans your resume, and if you have like, if your resume looks cute, pretty much it's not gonna get read. So basically you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by doing that. And so once I was working with the mentor to change that, and it made my resume look really ugly and plain, I started to get a lot of interviews, basically. So that was really helpful. They also look through your GitHub and your portfolio and give you tips on those. I think the career services mentor is great. The career coach, I think, is hit or miss. I think it depends on who you're working with. The first person I was working with was really terrible. She was like, you know, she asked me like what kind of job I wanted to do. Did I want to do front end or back end? And I was like, I like to do both. Like I want a full stack job. And she was pretty much like, yeah, it's gonna be pretty much impossible for you to get a full stack position. That's like way too hard. And you know, I had 3 interviews for full stack positions, and now I'm a full stack software engineer. So I don't know what she was talking about, and she was just very negative. So of course, like after one meeting with her, I put in a request for a new career coach, and they gave me a new career coach like the next day. And the next guy was really nice, super positive and everything, but I only had a few meetings with him because shortly after when I first met with him, I was already interviewing and like really close to getting my job. So I don't really have like a ton of comments on that. I just think it really depends on who you work with. But I think overall it's great to have the option to be able to have a coach that is included with your tuition and everything. There's no extra cost to it, because why not have somebody who can support you even if just emotionally? Because you know, these career coaches, they don't have the technical training to like help you with whiteboarding interviews or technical interviews, which is really the hardest part of interviewing. So really the main thing that they can help you with is the behavioral interviews and maybe like the cultural fit kind of interviews. But I think like the good thing about having them is they are a resource. There's somebody who can be your cheerleader, you know, keep your vibes positive, keep your outlook optimistic, because it can be kind of demoralizing when you are applying to places and you get rejections, which is pretty common. So yeah, I think it's great that they have that. Next question, what was it like working remotely? Working remotely kind of sucked, I think, for this type of thing. Like usually they do this boot camp in person, which I think would have been so much better because you would bond more with your cohort and I think just have a better experience overall, you know, in this, having it being remote. And maybe it has to do a lot with like the times that we're in with like the pandemic and everything, but you would have the instruction and then you'd go into breakout rooms, and a lot of times you get to breakout rooms and like everyone has their camera off, so you're not even working with other people anyways. And that happened, I think, for a lot of reasons. I think because, you know, maybe you're stuck on something and you feel like you just need to like review before you can actually work on the problem with other people. So it's kind of like understandable, but at the same time, like, I just think it would have been better in person. But I love working from home. I work from home now and I really enjoy it. So I think there's definitely pros and cons to it. Now, what was it like working with peers on projects? I think that it can be challenging working on a group project with people that you don't know very well. There's definitely certain kinds of challenges that are particular to a coding bootcamp, mainly because everybody is at a different level. You have people who have prior coding experience, you have people who have no experience, you have people who work really hard and have like understood the concepts and kept up on the homework assignments throughout the whole time. But then you have some people who are behind, and you're kind of like randomly assigned to a group, so you don't have a choice on like who to work with, at least for the first 2 projects. There's 3 projects total. So that is a challenge, like working with different levels and different types of people. But at the same time, it's really valuable. It's a valuable skill to be able to work with a diverse group of people with diverse backgrounds. So it's kind of like a challenge, but also like you're developing a skill set. And I think the most important thing is like learning how to use GitHub and how to like, you know, push to like your remote repository, and how to like handle merge conflicts, which happens a lot in these kinds of group projects. And I think it's valuable to like work with a group on planning, what are you going to make? What is it going to look like? You know, drawing the wireframes, making the plan, putting things on a Kanban board, like knowing how that kind of agile methodology works with stand-ups, because those are the skills, like that's what you will do in a real job. So I found that to be really, really valuable for sure. Also, for the 3rd project, you get to decide who you want to work with. They actually let you choose for the last one, which I thought was awesome. I highly recommend that you choose new people. So I don't think I worked with the same people for project 1 and 2, which I thought was great because you're expanding your network. You're expanding the people that you get to know better, because through working on these projects, you actually get to know these people a lot better than just like seeing them in class. So I really appreciated that aspect of it, and I tried to choose people for the 3rd project that I didn't work with before for the most part, and I thought that was great. My project 3 group, we were all women, so we worked on a project called Go Girl, which is an application meant to support women, provide a social media kind of space for women to share things while they're traveling alone. So it's for solo female travelers. That was a really cool project to work on with all women. We were kind of struggling through it together, learned so much from it. And then afterwards, that group, we actually got together once a week after the bootcamp ended, and we helped each other like work on leak code problems while preparing for technical interviews. So we continued to support each other for a little bit after the program ended, which was really awesome. So think about the projects as an opportunity to get to know people who you could like potentially develop further projects with in the future, who you can lean on for and support each other once the program is over. Okay, so my next question. Do I think it's a successful program? I absolutely think it's a successful program. Short answer is, if you're on the fence, just do it, because if it's you only get out what you put in. That's what they say. And I think that's totally true, because you can find success if you learn the material. If you have the skills, it's not even about whether or not you finish the certificate. It's about learning the skills that they're teaching you in the program. And when you have those skills and then you'll have the confidence to go into interviews and be like, yeah, I can do this. I think there are companies that like hiring bootcamp grads because they know how difficult these programs are, and the people who are able to get these skills and be able to talk about it in a competent way afterwards are really valuable, because they know you work really hard and that you can learn things really fast. So I think trying to emphasize that in your interviews will make you even more successful. Do I think it's worth it? So I'm going to answer this in the financial sense and then also the emotional sense, I guess. Financially, absolutely. So the cost is $10,000. That is a lot of money. But I'm now making more than $20,000 more than in my previous position prior to the bootcamp. So in a financial sense, I paid off the bootcamp with my new salary, and now I have this like extra income. So I think it's absolutely worth it financially. I think in an emotional sense, I do have some thoughts about that, which kind of leads me into the next question, which is, if I had to do it over again, would I do it again? And no. Let me explain. I would not do the 3-month bootcamp over again, because do I think it's worth it in an emotional sense? No. I had such increased anxiety. There were moments of like depression throughout, and this is a common experience. Like, a lot of people had breakdowns doing this, because that's why they call it a bootcamp. A bootcamp is really hard. And I'm telling you, it's really hard. You feel dumb a lot of the times. There are times where you feel like, I can't do this. Did I waste my money? Like, where am I going with this? And I think like a lot of that could be alleviated by just like having enough sleep at night and like having a more balance in your life. And I think if you do the 3-month intensive, it's going to be very, very hard for you to have work-life balance, because you need to be working all the time to keep up. Unless you're like really, really fast learner, or you have coding experience in the past. I think if you already know a programming language and you're doing this because you want to learn JavaScript and you want like a certificate and you're kind of like ahead, then I think you're probably fine, and you can like, you know, stop work at 5 p.m. and like have a life afterwards. But I think if you're like me and you have zero experience and you don't know what you're doing, I think the 3-month one is very intense, and I don't recommend it. I really don't. I think you're just not gonna have, I mean, you could still do it and like try to have work-life balance, but I think you're probably not gonna learn the material as well, and you may just take longer to get a job. And so that's why I recommend doing the 6-month program, or finding a program where you can, I know they have like 4 or 5-month programs, but Georgia Tech has a 6-month program. It's an evening program that's part-time, and I think the classes are from like 6 to 9 p.m. at night, which maybe is not ideal, but what I would do is if I had to do it over again, I would do the 6-month program, but I would treat that as a full-time thing. Like, I would not have a job during the day and just do the 6 months, so that the material is spread out a little bit more and you can focus on stuff, absorb what you're learning, and like still like stop working after like 5 or 6 p.m. and have a life. Because I just think like I was working like all evening. I would wake up really early to like review stuff every day, and I feel like that's just like not good for your mental health. If you already suffer from like mental health issues like anxiety or depression, like I do, I have anxiety that I manage. I think like this program, with it being so fast and intense, is probably not a good idea. Like, you could do it and get through it. Like, I did it and I got through it, and now I'm in a better place, but I wouldn't do it again. No. My final piece of advice, and I think this is very important. My final piece of advice is be passionate about what you're doing. Find something about programming that you like, that you enjoy. It doesn't matter what it is. You need to have something that you're passionate about that will motivate you throughout the program. I didn't know if I was going to enjoy coding when I started. Luckily I do. I think I like the fact that you're always problem solving, you're trying to figure stuff out. I like the challenge of that, like getting stuck on a problem and like working through it and just trying to find the answer. Like, usually I have a hard time putting it down until I can figure stuff out. You know, that's kind of like where my passion came from, and what drove me to keep getting better and to stick through it, working as hard as I did, because I worked my butt off. I really did. So yeah, those are my opinions and little pieces of advice. If you're interested in doing the program, I hope that this was really helpful for you in making your decision. And yeah, best of luck if you're thinking about going through this journey. It's super exciting, and I hope that you find success, and I hope you enjoy programming. Happy programming. Okay, bye. Thanks for watching.